Okay, good morning, everyone. I'm going to call the meeting to order. At this time, I'd like to remind council and municipal staff that this meeting is being live streamed to the public. All council meetings are also recorded. Recordings will be available to the public on the township's YouTube account. Physical attendance of the public at this meeting is restricted due to the COVID-19 pandemic. This meeting is held electronically under Bylaw 2020-70 to amend Procedural Bylaw 2018-117 pursuant to Section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended. The purpose of today's meeting is for council to discuss and provide staff with priorities and goals to be considered for budget purposes, and for council to receive capital requests, departmental consideration, and overall budget changes, impacts from provincial agencies needed for the preparation of the draft budget. And with that, I will do the First Nations land acknowledgement. As we gather today, I'd like to acknowledge on behalf of council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history. And we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. We'll move to the adoption of the agenda for Thursday, March 17th, 2022. The recommendation is that the Council and Committee agenda for Thursday, March 17th, 2022 be approved as presented. Could I get a mover, please? Moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. All those in favor? And that's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest?
None.
None here.
Okay. Seeing none, we're going to move to finance and administration. We have a municipal reports, the 2022 draft budget presentation by our treasurer, and I'm going to turn it over to Amanda.
Thank you. I'm just going to share my screen. So you have the draft budget as your agenda package, and I'm just going to put my Excel spreadsheet on the screen so that the public can follow along if they're watching. So give me 1 minute here. And so I don't know how that appears. Are you able to see that? Can somebody just
Can you make it a little bit bigger, Amanda?
I can.
Would probably help.
Try a little bit more here.
Yeah. Okay, maybe even 150. All right, council, can you see that? We're
Yes,
good. And you and everybody also has a paper
Very
copy.
Good.
Okay, we
Very
can
good.
read it, Amanda. So if we can,
So
hopefully the public can.
Yeah, so you can follow along with your paper copy if you have notes and questions that you've written down. And we will start with that. So I'm going to move to page 4 of 55 of your agenda, of your package. So the budget that's being presented to you today is a budget with a tax rate increase of 2.2%. This rate is above the 2022 assessment growth of 1.08% that has been reported by the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation. So I've provided the table for you from MPAC, just showing where the percentage changes from 2021 to 2022 tax years are. Assessment growth is the sum of all changes that happen in a year based on changes to property affecting its values. So demolitions, new constructions, renovations, property value appeals, all are taken into consideration to come up with what the assessment growth might be. So we're lucky this year, we're seeing a 1.08% assessment growth. But that doesn't mean that everybody is affected by that. That's only properties that have experienced some of those changes to their property values, such as new construction or renovations on your property or demolitions. So depending on, if you've done any work to your property, you may see an increase in your assessment this year. Other people will not see any changes to their assessment. So most people will not be affected by that 1.08% assessment growth. Everybody will be affected by a 2.2% tax rate increase. So it's important to note that property value reassessments are still frozen at the 2016 valuation as a result of COVID-19. We still do not know of any timelines to reassess properties. It's all up in the air based on COVID-19. So how that affects us is you could have a property valued at $200,000 based on your 2016 assessment. In these recent years, it may have sold for $800,000. We're not capturing that assessment. So the tax rate is being applied to that $200,000 assessment based on the previous assessment year or valuation assessment time. So that is a big, it could be a big issue for us, but we'll see what happens in the coming years, how the ministry will be approaching those changes, those real estate changes that have happened in the past couple of years. This year, as a result of recent asset management planning, condition assessments, we have seen the need for infrastructure investments in our facilities, our roads, our vehicles, and parks. And therefore, I feel that it is prudent for the municipality to slowly increase our tax rates in order to be able to afford the investments in our infrastructure. We did receive additional Osef funds. We did receive additional what was formerly called the gas tax fund, and it is now the Canada Building Fund. So that helps us out, but that money is not always going to be there. And therefore, we know that we are going to need to grow our tax base. And by increasing it slowly, our tax rate, we're building that base so that we'll have those monies in reserves to be able to then offset those capital costs. Does council have any questions on that?
Okay, Councillor Poplinski. Oh, and you're muted. Sorry, you're still muted, Councillor Poplinski. No, okay. I can't hear him. Can anyone else hear him?
No.
Okay.
Oh,
No, it's
No.
muted.
No, it's definitely. Oh, okay.
I think it's unmuted now if you want to
okay.
try.
There was nothing that I could hit on because of the program that's up there now. So thank you for the patience, but I couldn't do anything about it. My question, Amanda, is what is the surplus for the year?
The surplus has not been determined yet because we still need to go through our audit. We did have a $132,000 overrun on our Pog Lake Road project. That was as a result of when we submitted our expenses to the ministry. They determined that certain expenses that previously would have been approved from previous applications, they felt that did not meet the criteria. So that will significantly bring our surplus down, and we are looking at approximately $50,000 surplus that is unaudited, and just want to be cautious on that. We did have some additional expenses. We had an additional staff member for compliance officer. We had additional expenses within the parks department, and that all takes into brings down what we had originally planned for our 2021 budget year. So it will not be a significant surplus year, Also, our revenues are significantly down. The interest rates at the banks were at 0.25%, which is very, very low. So we did not capture interest there. Also, because with the changes in COVID, we had budgeted expecting revenues for our facilities that did not occur. Yes, I am forecasting approximately $50,000 surplus.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions for Amanda at this point in time?
No.
Okay, I'm not seeing any. Is there any sign of Councillor Wilmer?
Yeah, I'm here.
I
I'm
see.
Oh,
here.
okay, good. Sorry, I don't have you visible to me. There you are. Okay, I'm moving you up so I can
Okay.
see you.
I've been here for a few minutes.
Okay, no, that's fine. I just wanted to make sure I could see your hand if you were here, and I'm glad that you were able to get on and join us.
I do apologize. It was totally my fault. I just assumed we were starting at 10 anyway.
No. Hey, we're getting everybody a half hour early today. So is there any further questions for Amanda? I don't see any hands. So Amanda,
Nope.
please continue.
Okay, so I'm going to move to page 5 of your package. And this is your budget in a summary. So this is everything all in one, 1, 2, 3 pages. So page 5 to page 7. And it just summarizes everything for each department, your revenues, your expenditures, and breaks down what the request is or what the ask is for taxation.
Okay, Amanda, can you put that page up on the screen?
Okay.
I think I've got revenues, but not the general summary.
Let me try and find my USB. Oh, what did I do? I do not want that. Okay. I hope you can see that.
It didn't change. We're still looking at 2022 revenues. I'm wondering if something's frozen. I can't even see you move your mouse.
Okay. It just says it's paused. Your screen sharing is paused. So maybe it just needs a minute to catch up. Come on.
The chipmunks in the wheel need to move faster. Oh, wait, something
no.
happened. That
Okay.
wasn't it.
I'm going to.
Went bigger.
It got bigger, which actually is even better that it got bigger, but we just need to be on the right page. So let's see if it, wow.
Just
Councillor Poplinski, yes.
yes, Mayor Lev, thank you. I just want to bring to Amanda's attention that the page numbers that she's quoting doesn't quite correspond to what I've got. We've got like on page 8, it shows page 8 of 55, and then beside it there's another number which says 6. But then some of the sheets that she's already been referring to are either a page before or after. So I think if we just have to understand that if there's a certain page being quoted, it may take us a minute to, at least what I've got here, it's going to take me a minute to actually find out where she's at. So
Sure.
Is that something that others have recognized as well?
Yeah, there are 2 different numbers.
Right.
Page 9 out of 55 and then a page 7 in the center. So
Okay,
there's 2 different numbering systems. Yeah.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll announce both numbers, or maybe Amanda. Amanda, do you have those numbers or do you want me to do it? Because they're right in front of me.
You can do it if you'd like.
You can do it? Okay, so this page, you just let them know what the page is, the 2 different numbers.
Sure. So can you see anything different on my screen? Okay,
It's come up.
so you can see the general municipal budget summary.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Okay,
that would be
right.
page 5 of 55, and on the bottom it would be the third page of number 3 in the middle. So
Yeah,
page
numbers.
5 of 55.
Yep.
Okay.
okay.
All right. Carry
All
on, Amanda.
Okay, here we go. So 2022 budget revenues, we are projecting 4,412,672.40. Total expenditures, we are projecting 10,441,366.63. Okay, I'm going to move. So I have moved to page 6 of 55 and 7 of 55, or page 4 and 5 of the Word document.
Okay.
Okay,
Mhm.
so the net expenditures is $6,028,694.23. We are projecting payments in lieu revenue of $135,804. That is down from previous years as the federal PIL program is not being maintained as the similar years. There is a little bit of back and forth between the province and the municipalities requesting that the federal government maintain those levels. But right now that's where we're at. Ontario Municipal Partnership funding for this year is $1,616,100. That is down from previous years of $1,624,200. So as a result of taking those revenues less the expenditures, what we require from general taxation is $4,276,790.23. The total capital projects proposed for 2022 come in at $3,617,881.63. Total reserves and deferred revenue that will be used to offset this is $2,174,687. The total reserves added back in through this budget is $895,077, bringing us a total balance in our reserves of $5,015,598.32. An overall reduction in reserve balance at December 31st, 2022 would be $1,250,610. For your purposes, a 1% increase in taxation equals $41,845. Therefore, if council is not in agreement with a tax rate increase, that's the level that we need to find to reduce this budget. How you would find it would be reducing your either your operating expenditures by reducing your additions to reserves, or by reducing your capital, but by reducing your capital, you're still drawing from reserves.
Sorry.
So you're using your reserves to then offset your operating, and that's not typically what we want to do. We want to use our reserves to offset our capital.
Mhm.
Do I have any questions from council?
Okay. Any questions at this point?
No.
So Amanda, the reserve number you're giving of just over 5 million, that doesn't include water and wastewater. That's just for the general.
That is for the
Okay.
general budget, yes.
Yes,
Because the
okay.
water and wastewater reserves are sort of in its own, it's only contributed to by the users of the water and wastewater system, and not by the municipality as a whole.
Okay. All right. And then I assume when we get to it, you'll explain why we have such a significant reduction in reserves.
Correct.
Okay, no, that's fine. I just want to make sure that that gets fully explained. Councillor Poplinski.
Thanks, Mary Love. Am I okay there? You can hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Okay, thank you. My question is what is our amount of overdue taxes for current year and previous years?
At the moment, I do not know. There has been a direction to staff to provide a report in the upcoming months. We do have a reserve. It's called a working reserve. The balance in that working reserve, let me just take a look, is 1,124,345. And that working reserve is to help us offset overdue taxes that are not paid in the current fiscal year, so that we can continue to operate.
So that, if I may, that
Mhm.
$1 million in reserves for that purpose is included in the balance of 5,015,598.
Yes,
Okay.
it is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
It is a number that we should not lose sight of, the overdue taxes, and because it gives us a good idea then, it's not as bleak as it seems.
Mhm,
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
absolutely.
And so I think it is a number that we should have at our disposal as soon as possible.
Well, and the direction was given to staff to begin to pursue making arrangements with those who were not paying their taxes to get them on payment plans. And during, basically during COVID, we were fairly reluctant to push on that because we knew a lot of people were really struggling through that time with layoffs, with businesses that had to shut down. So council was very understanding of that, in that it would be for some very difficult to pay their taxes and keep it up to date. But at this point, we are our staff is looking to work with individuals who have tax arrears to help them to get back on track. So there was an indication, I think the last time this was reported to us from our deputy treasurer, that things were starting to turn around and people are starting to get on those payment plans and pay back their overdue taxes. So it is headed in the right direction.
Correct. So we did start, it's a process, right? So you send out your first initial notices, just advising or showing what the overdue taxes are. And then you hope that they reach out, right? And then you want to provide them with 30 days to respond, to either come in and talk to staff, or to pay the balance of those overdue taxes. And then we have to work with legislated timelines of, okay, now you didn't meet that, so now you have 60 days to work out payment plans. And so that's where we're at, is reaching out to those, working with those residents that were in arrears for their taxes. So there will be, I believe in June, we believe would be an optimal time, because as we require, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months for the arrears notices and whatnot, and to give them time to make up this. June would be an optimal time to report accurately on what the balance in those accounts are.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Wilmer?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I just had a question on the reserves, and maybe we're going to discuss this later, but I'm just wondering, is that reduction, or is the money for the arena project deducted from the reserves? Is that why it's down, or is that still to come out?
Absolutely.
What's that?
Yes,
Sorry.
it is. Yes.
It is deducted.
Yes.
So that would basically explain our reduction in the reserves.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay.
Which I'll ask Amanda to explain a little more fulsomely when we look at that budget.
Okay, thank
So
you.
everyone's clear about that. Okay, what time was that session, Amanda, for the fire chief?
At 10:30. I do see Councillor Poplinski has his.
Oh,
hand raised.
okay, I couldn't see that. Councillor Poplinski.
Thanks, Mayor Love. Just a final thought on the on the outstanding taxes. I compliment the staff for doing what they're doing, and I think it's very important that we stay on top of it, but also keep that number in the back of our minds as we're levying, especially if we're looking at increasing the taxes. So that's all I'm saying, and that's why I asked that question. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Amanda, did you want to continue with the revenues and then do the fire? I'm not sure when you want to do the fire department so that we make sure we get it done.
Well, it's 10 after 10. Would it be all right? Is council comfortable with us to jumping to the fire protection expenditures
Sure, no problem.
and
Yep.
then going back to
Yes.
revenues?
I
Yes.
think that would be a good idea, just so we make certain that the fire chief can attend the 911 seminar.
Mhm.
So we'll switch to, I'm just
Okay,
looking for the page.
let me see if I can get
12 or
this.
14.
Page 14 and 55, and it's numbered 12.
So
And-
let me see if I can pull this up. I need to. All right, I have technology issues too. Okay, so, and I want fire. Okay. So I think we'll go to fire protection services budget.
Okay, so everyone, you have numbered page 12, which is 14 and 55.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to highlight some lines and then I'll ask council if they have any questions. I'll try and answer them as best I can. And then if I can't answer them, we'll call in Chief Quad. Fire remunerations, that is the line that we draw from to pay the volunteer fire services. So we increase that by 3.4%, similar to the employee non-unionized wage grid. The fire salaries, although it was lower than budgeted in 2021 actual, we left it the same as the 2021 budget. Typically what comes out of that is the fire chief salary, and also we usually have a volunteer fire assistant. We have not had that because of COVID, and we haven't been able to go into you know, buildings the way we normally would, and so that will be starting back up eventually. So we felt it was necessary to continue with that budget in the event that the fire prevention assistant comes back on again for this year. But again, you know, we're just in the early stages of, you know, releasing some mandates of the COVID requirements. So we have to see how that plays out. Okay. Fire vehicle expenses increased from 2021 budget. There were some offsetting charges that increased the actuals in 2021. So we are going to keep it at 20,000 for 2022. Benefits in EHT, that is our OMERS pension plan and our employee benefits, and also the Treasurer of Ontario, the requirement that the municipality has to pay, any business has to pay to the province for employee health taxes. Insurance is increasing again. We can talk about that once we get to the back to the general admin expenses. But insurance rates have increased and will be affected within all of the budgets. Staff training has increased from previous years as things start to open up. We're seeing opportunities for training again, and therefore we need to make sure that we're able to capitalize on that and have staff get the necessary training that they need. Our firemen's expenses are staying relatively stable, which is good. We want to make sure that we keep that not increasing annually. North Station maintenance and South Station maintenance, those, the fire chief goes through with the captains of the fire halls and identifies the needs for the year. And through those budgets, they determine if they need some paint or some safety maintenance done in those facilities. Communications expense, that's our rental, our lease for our radio. Equipment purchase and maintenance, so that's different equipment that they may need throughout the year. And our forest fire agreement is the agreement that we have with the county or the province, I can't remember, but I believe it's with the province. And so we pay an annual fee. If we don't have any forest fires, that fee remains what it is. If we do have forest fires, then we can expect that the costs will increase because they then share those costs amongst all the municipalities for if it has been a bad fire season. Equipment purchase and other expense, we had budgeted 4,800 for air bottles. We did recently receive, after the budget was already built, we did receive a donation for air bottles. So I did recommend to the fire chief that we leave that 4,800 in there since the budget was already built. And we may absolutely see some additional equipment needs for the year. If it's not used, we'll put that money towards reserves at the end of the year. We have a capital expenditure for 89,332.63. And we have increased our capital reserve from 88,667 from 2021 to 95,000 in 2022. And that is because we have some capital needs in the upcoming years and we need to be able to build on those. So before I jump to the capital sheet, are there any questions from council on the operating costs that have been identified within this budget?
Okay, thank you, Amanda. I was going to just ask a question quickly and then I'll go to Councillor Flinsky. Just the Vfis accident insurance, it says the actual was over 6,000 last year, but we're still only budgeting 3,900.
So
that seems odd.
Yes, because I still have to do an accrual. So what we do is we draw down, we pay for on-duty Vfis, and this additional amount, this additional 3,000 is for the volunteer firefighters if they ask for 24-hour coverage through the Vfis program. So we pay it outright and then we get that money back from them. They pay the premium for that additional coverage. So I have to collect that and then I'll do a journal entry to bring that down at audit time.
Okay, so that number will actually be reduced to align with the budget amount.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Councillor Poplinski.
Thanks, Mary Love. You actually asked my first question was the accident insurance.
Mhm.
Thanks for doing that. I have a question regarding, we have the chief with us this morning, do we?
Yes.
Okay, and it relates to the radio system. In our recent studies and reports, there was some indication that we would be. It was suggested we move to another type of system, and also my other question is regarding the new regulations regarding fire training. We've been a lot of information recently on this, and I know our reserves only count for capital projects and basically for equipment and that sort of thing. So what I'm concerned about, do we have adequate reserves if need be to deal with those other two issues? If the radio system is something that we need to change, and also the new regulations regarding the fire training is probably could be more acute, and I would think that we would want to have some money in reserves for that, because I know what's telling me is that we only have reserves for the other two components. So which is the fire vehicle replacement and the equipment replacement.
So I can respond. So we do have in the capital sheet for 2023, we've identified $45,000 for a tower and repeater. And in discussions with the fire chief, it's earmarked for 2023 because number one, we're not sure what is going to happen. There's a next generation 911, which is part of that webinar that the chief is going to be jumping on at 10:30. So there still needs to be decisions made up at the upper levels or the upper tier at the county level, whether the municipalities will be joining the provincial next generation 911, or if the county will be implementing its own digital system. So we need to make sure that that money is going to be there. So we are forecasting in 2023 that we will have to put money into that membership, whether it be with the county or whether it be with the province. So those upper levels still have to decide on what the best path is for the county level for the lower tier municipalities, and they're still discussing it at the fire chiefs levels. As for training, we do not have a training budget. However, as I identified, we have identified funds for the air bottles in the equipment. Equipment purchase and other expenses, $4,800. We can certainly put that into a reserve, build a training reserve to make sure that we have the money in the future years. So if that is the wish of council, I can remove that from this line, the 4,800, and we can start an equipment training reserve for future years.
Amanda, I think that would probably be a very good idea. Would any member of council have an objection to that? We did receive air bottles, so that would get us started on being ready for what may be coming down. Councillor Wilmer.
I think it's a very good idea. I think we should have a training budget in the fire department. So I think that would be well worthwhile to do.
Anyone else?
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, you're good. It's good with everyone.
I'm
So
good.
Amanda, if you could just do that, shift the 4,800 out of equipment, purchase and other expense, and put it into a firefighter training reserve.
All right, Councillor Plinsky, did I answer your questions? The fire chief
You have answered.
He is available.
Not only answered the question, but you've come up with the solution. So that's what I was hoping to hear.
Okay.
And I'm happy to hear that council supports that, endeavor. Because it is something that we could get caught, and I don't want to see that happen. You know, we were just like so many things, other things coming down from the ministry. We're not getting a clear picture as to what it's going to cost us. We know it's going to cost us more money. So we're just trying to be prepared for it. That's all.
Absolutely.
And it's still an issue that is under much discussion at this point. I know AMO is pushing hard back at the province that if they're going to make these requirements, then they should be providing some funding to assist municipalities to meet the requirements that are being set by another level of government, basically. So, okay, so we have that. Amanda, did you want to go on then to the capital for the fire department? And we'll hopefully get the fire chief able to attend.
Okay. So we have, I hope you can see this. No. Okay.
And that would be page 15 of 55.
Okay. For 2022, we have budgeted for the South Hall roof of the tanker bay of the South Hall roof, $10,000. Lighting and electrical for the South Hall, $12,000, although we foresee that it will not be to that extent. And therefore, if it comes in lower, the monies will go back into reserves, into our equipment reserves. We've also budgeted for a pickup truck with decals, lights, and accessories of $55,000. This is to be shared amongst the fire chief, bylaw, animal control, and building department. And I believe at the previous council meeting that was approved. We've also budgeted for 2 bunker suits at $5,300. We have the balance of a generator at the North Hall for $7,032.63. Then we have going into fire vehicle replacement reserve. We have increased that to 75,000 from 66,667. Because as we can see in upcoming years, we will need to save for SCBA replacements. We will require a Freightliner another pumper or a large piece of equipment around 2025, and another vehicle in 2027. So we need to increase our reserves. Our fire equipment reserve is staying at $20,000, and per council's direction, now we have 4,800 going into a fire training reserve.
Okay, any questions on the capital items?
None.
Okay, I do
No,
have one
good.
question, and it would be for the fire chief. I just wanted an update on where we're at with the generator for the generator for the North Hall, which seems to have a carryover. It had an expense in 2021 and then another expense in 2022. Is the chief? Okay, I can't see him.
He is here.
Okay, thank you. Chief Quad, could you just update us on that project
The
and why
project
it
supposed to be
carries over?
the reason carryover is because they're waiting on switches for the automatic switch from the hydro to the generator. They just came in as of last Thursday. I spoke to Wilk Electric, so they're supposed to progress with that next week for both the North Hall and the South Hall in the Courier Community Center. So, but hopefully by the end of next week, both generators will be up and running and ready to go.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate the update because I know council has wanted these projects to get completed, and it's super important also with the South Hall because it's our backup emergency center as well, because it does serve the Courier Community Center as well, does it not?
It does. You'll run the whole community center. Everything will be wide open, like as if there's power on all the time.
Okay, great. Thank you for the update, and that explains why it carries over. Any other questions on the capital? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So are we done with fire department?
I believe we are.
Any further questions on fire department? I'm not seeing any. Thank you, Chief. We'll let you go so you can do your the seminar and bring us back more information at our next meeting.
Okay, thank you, council.
Thank you, Corey.
Thank you.
All right, Amanda, would you like to go back to revenues?
We certainly can. Give me
Okay.
Okay. Stop sharing. Okay, now I need to share this. All right. Okay. 20. Stop sharing.
That will
Sorry.
start at page 8 of 55.
Thank you, Sue.
I prefer to use my Excel sheets. Okay. All right. So the first portion of our revenues are our payments in lieu. And those are monies that come in from various levels or organizations to offset taxes. And as I've said previously, that we expect that we will see a significant decrease from the federal share, as they don't seem to want to retain the same levels. Our Ontario unconditional grants are the OMPF.
Can you speak
has
up just a little bit, Amanda, please?
the
Thanks.
Ontario Unconditional Grants is our OMPF, our Ontario Municipal Partnership Funding. And that decreased this year from previous years. So we had to make that up. Ontario specific grants. And these are just boxed in this category because it aligns with our FIR. So it makes it easier for us when we have to report on the FIR that it's all in this way. So we have Ontario General specific grant. We have different grants that we have applied for, we've received funding for, or we're waiting on notice of funding. So that's what 197, 162 we expect for general government. The 4900 we expect for protective services, and that's just court security, prisoner transportation services. We have applied for connecting links funding. So we are waiting. We have budgeted for the offsetting amount. I believe it's 9% that we have to we have to offset for the total cost, and then the province pays the balance. This is our Osef Fund. So as you can see in previous years, we have received 177,671. They have decided to provide us with $373,657 this year. So that helps us out quite a bit. Our Ontario Transportation Aggregate Resources Grant. So that's funding that we receive as a result of gravel licensing. So when you have a gravel pit, you have to license it, you pay fees to the government, and then they provide us with some of those funds. This one is a little bit of a concern. Ontario Environment Recycling Grant. This is our blue box, our Stewardship Ontario grant that we receive. As a result of the blue box transition, we can expect that we may not receive this money in future years. So that will be a significant hit to the municipality. I don't know how that's going to work. We are not scheduled for transition until 2025. So the operations manager will be working on the logistics of how that's going to work. Because again, it's supposed to be producer covers the expenses of all those recycling. So we'll see how that will affect us. Ontario Recreation. So this grant is, again, we're forecasting a participation grant and we're hoping that we receive it. But again, we don't know. Canada specific grants. I just want to make sure I'm on the same page. Okay. Canada specific grants. So we've applied for Trillium Funding, and that Trillium is supplied by the federal government. So that's why it's a Canada grant. The Trillium Funding is for furnace HVAC and hot water on demand for our municipal office. Our gasoline tax rebate, we did receive a top up in 2021. So we placed that in a reserve. And we typically receive around 125 to 130. It's now called the Canada Building Fund. It is no longer called the gasoline tax rebate. So this year we have 256,466.40 in that account to use, and we will be using all of those funds in this year. The Canada Cultural is our Canada Summer Jobs Grant. So the application that we submit for our summer students. Other municipalities, okay. Other municipalities, grants and fees, transportation services. This is an agreement that we have with Hastings Highlands Township for a shared road. So we do some maintenance and then we bill them back and receive the funds to offset those costs. Ontario Environmental Services. This is our hazardous waste funding. So as we do our hazardous waste days, then we apply for getting some of those costs back from the government. And we also, because it's a shared we share the services, and therefore we share the expenses, and then we bill it back to the other municipalities that we share. Okay, so do I have any questions from council on those revenues?
None.
Yes.
Okay, I see Councillor Poplinski.
And
Go ahead, Mark.
well, you can go first. I just,
Okay, my question, Amanda, was do we have any grant applications right now where we could be getting something for recreation? You know,
The summer jobs we have
other
applied
than
for.
other than summer jobs.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm at a loss. I know that there was a grant that we did apply for. My apologies.
If I may interject, I will send an email to Hannah to just forward me the list of some of the grants that have been applied for, and I can bring it before the end of the meeting.
So if I may, then that number could change, right? If we're
Yes, it
eligible.
could change. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And if Hannah could get that information, that would be very helpful.
Councillor Wimler?
just a couple of quick questions. Number one, the recycling grant, that is guaranteed for this year, is it? I just want to make
Yes.
sure that it is. Okay. My second question, where does the Canada Day funding fit into this? It's not listed under the specific grant. I know Hannah did apply.
Yes. It's here somewhere. Mad Valley Events revenue. So it's further down on the page, and it is part of page 10 of 55.
Okay, thank you.
Kim, you're muted.
My turn. Anything further on this page?
No.
Okay, then let's proceed to the next one.
Okay, so we're on page 10 of 55. Okay. Sorry, we're on page 9 of 55. My apologies. So we're in fees, service charges, and other revenues. Excuse me. Okay. So I think I'll just bring some points ahead, and then if council has any questions, I'll try and answer those questions. Fire permit fees, again, are weather dependent, so we don't know what it'll look like if it's a very dry summer and we have a no burning, then obviously we can't expect any revenues from them. Shoreline land sale proceeds. Shoreline land sales are a hot commodity, and so it's always busy, very busy within the planning department. There was a recommendation from council that those proceeds from the sale of the land then be placed into a parks reserve, which we have done. So it's on your reserve sheets under, I think it's under planning heading, but it has been identified that it is to be used to offset any shoreline parks or recreation costs, such as wharfs and docks and maintenance of those such capital projects. So in 2021, 37,640.56 will be placed into that reserve. Okay, so it will not be realized to offset any expenses, but it will be there for future capital. Okay. So I just want to go down. Income from investments is down, again, because the investments interest has been really, really brutal for 2021. But as the Bank of Canada increases their rates, they just increased it once, and they're projecting that it will increase 2 times throughout the year. So I've kept that at the $40,000 and hoping that we meet that goal. Okay. Fire, okay, sale of equipment. So this $5,000 is if we sell any future equipment that that is deemed surplus or not required by the fire department anymore. Chief Quad has been very good in finding avenues to sell unused or equipment that is no longer deemed safe for fire department services, but can definitely be used for other purposes. And so we've been selling that off as to recover some costs as we can. I wanted to bring this up, metal sales revenue. Metal sales have been phenomenal. So, you know, as we have, you know, parts break down or whatnot, we hold them off, and then we have someone come and pick it up, and we get revenues from that. So we budgeted 10,000 and we brought in 28. And metal sales are increasing, the rates are increasing for this year again. So we project that we will meet that, if not exceed it. And then I just want to go right here. So transfers from reserves. So this is where we capture that those transfers from the reserve funds to offset our requirement for taxation. So if I have any questions from council on the fees and service charges and other revenues.
Councillor Wilmer.
Yeah, I just have one, and it's to do with the Shoreline land sale proceeds. In that one, we brought in 37,000 last year.
Mhm.
And we budgeted in 2021, 20,000, and we've gone back to that 20,000 for 2022. Just wondering why, because as you said, Amanda, I mean, this is sort of a hot item right now, and I think it will continue to be hot for at least another couple of years. People want to purchase the shoreline land, and I'm wondering if we should move that up, or is there a reason why we've taken it back down to 20,000?
So I kept it at the 20,000 because the 2021 year we saw sort of a I don't know what the word is, but it was increased as a result of some developments that were finalizing, where we had they had purchased the shoreline for those developments. So it's already sold and we will not realize any revenues from that. So that was a large revenue source for us in 2021. And, you know, therefore, I'm not sure that we will realize that level in 2022. But again, you know, we could, I prefer to stay on the side of caution, not to increase our revenues too much. But if council wishes, we certainly can increase that level.
No, I'm fine with that explanation. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yes. Well, at this point, we don't have any other large projects that may be interested in purchasing a significant amount of shoreline. So
Yes.
I think it's prudent to keep it at a level that would represent a more normal year, and we'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other questions on this? Councillor Poplinski.
Yes, 9 from the bottom regarding garbage tags. Does that reflect the new $2 rate per bag?
Yes.
Okay, that's why it's 105 double, basically.
Yes,
Great.
that's correct.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Anything further on this page? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. Let's move to the next one, Amanda.
All right. So we're going to go into events revenue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that is page 10 of 55. So we have Mad Valley Community Christmas Party events receipts. We have budgeted 15, and then within on the expense side, we have that to offset costs. So that would be sale of tickets. Hannah is very much looking forward to start be able to plan some events and actually put things on for the community again. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to continue this year and start bringing some of these back up. Canada Day. So we have applied for a Canada Day funding grant. We have applied for $7,500 for fireworks, 14 for inflatables, 66 for artists and different activities and musicians through the Canada Day, the Heritage Canada program. We have the swim program registration fees. So we're hoping to be able to have summer students to put that program on again this year. Okay. Rents, concessions, and franchises. So this is the rental revenue that we would receive for the driver's training, for the use of the driver's training at the Paul J. Akabuski Community Center. We're hoping to have increased bar receipts, although we do have a large capital project for the year in the summertime. We're hoping that we'll be able to capitalize in the fall and winter months. And those just help to offset the costs in those departmental expenditures. Ball field rental fees. Last year, we did not see rentals at the same level that we usually see as a result of COVID. And talking with staff, you know, the ball teams are eagerly waiting to start, and they are getting ready and hoping to be able to run their programs again. Ice rental fees. So that was a big hit for us in 2021, budgeted 80, and we only brought in 32,906 as a result of COVID with the stop, start, right? So it was very difficult. So we're going to err on the side of caution and just leave it at 40,000 and see where we're at. Hopefully we'll be doing much better in the fall and early winter of this year. Okay. We're hoping that we will be able to rent out the upper lounges of the community center at the arena in Barry's Bay, the Paul J. Akabuski Community Center, while the capital project is going on. And then later on also in the fall and winter months. The sign rental fee is, those are the signs that we have throughout the facility in the ice area. Commonwealth Community Center bar receipts, we budgeted 1,000, spent nothing, or we received nothing in revenues. Again, let's hopefully be able to put some events on again in 2022 and bring those levels back up. Same with the community center rentals for the Commonwealth Hall. We're very hopeful that we'll be able to start planning events for the community. Railway station event revenue. This is for the Artisan Festival. Plans are already underway. People are submitting applications. There's a lot of excitement, and we're hoping it'll be a very successful launch or start to the summer events within the municipality. Lakeshore tennis membership fees, budgeted 4,200. So we do have a memorandum of understanding with the group. We collect the membership fees, and then based on the expenses, we offset those costs, and anything that's left over, we put it into an account for them. We have had student there in the summer months, and that has shown that the membership has grown to be able to have someone there for them. And it's nice to see that the facility gets used by not just the regulars, but a lot of new people visiting the area or people wanting to try out tennis. So it's a great facility to have, and we're very proud to be able to put money towards it and have staff there. So that's really great. And that's it for those revenues. Do I have any questions from council?
Okay, I'm not seeing any.
None.
None? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions, Amanda. Just on the Lakeshore tennis membership fees, has that discussion occurred with that group? And are they in agreement that they would not be receiving those membership fees?
So the chairs of that group are summer residents. So we don't typically hear much from them. there have been comments or emails saying they're happy to see it running. They just want to see it running and make sure that the facility is open, that the facility is being maintained, and they just want to be able to play tennis. So we have not had this discussion with them with regards to the membership fees. I would predict that just that we are maintaining that facility and keeping it open and making sure that it's available for them, that they would be happy. Oh, I did something, but
You need to undo.
certainly,
Yeah, there we go.
there we go. But certainly, as we start opening back up again, we will need to just sit down with some of these groups that we have and for planning purposes and see where they're at. You know, a lot of things have changed in the past 2 years, right? You know, people are reevaluating their lives and whatnot. So I predict that they will just be happy that the township is investing in that facility and making sure that it's open and making sure that it's being run.
Okay, Sue, I think you had your hand up.
I did. I just wanted to remind council a previous staff report indicating that all terms of reference with all of the groups will be underway with those committees. And if there was any change in responsibilities and or allocations, they would be aware of that through that, and they come back to council for approval again by bylaw.
Okay.
And I just wanted to add as well, Hannah did text that there was no increase in the fees for the 2022 tennis.
Okay, I just want to make sure that that discussion happens and that they are in agreement so that we don't have any issues with this. That's all. I have no concerns with doing this. I just, as long as the group is in agreement and they support it. And I can understand that they may have changed their position in terms of how independent they wish to be and how much how involved they wish to be. So, I mean, let's make sure that's captured and we have a new agreement that everybody's on board.
Certainly, those conversations do need to take place. It is a fairly insignificant amount that gets transferred to the committee after, typically in previous years, after we deduct our expenses for keys and locks and maintenance, hydro. You know, if they don't agree to that, you know, if it's a sticking point for them, I'm certain that we can find those funds to bring back into their account.
Okay. All right. No concerns. Just want to make sure everybody's informed. All right. Any other questions on this page? I don't
Just
see any.
Mayor Love, just
Yeah, go ahead.
clarification.
Sorry, Sue.
Just so we, before we leave this portion, I did get from Hannah, just confirmation, the Canada Day was 17,520. Canada Summer Jobs was 67,900 for 11 positions. Ontario Summer Experience Program was 7,378 that was applied for.
Okay, so those are the grants that at the moment are in the wings.
That's right.
We're waiting on confirmation. Okay. All right, Amanda, I guess let's move on.
Okay, so let's get into the meat and potatoes, right? The expenses. Okay, so we're going to start with the general admin budget. So a couple of things of note. Okay, let me just put my pointer here. Okay, the administration expenses budget was 15,000 for 2021. The actual was 33. So we've increased it to 20,000 for 2022. The reason for that over expense in 2021 was we were required to, we reached out to an HR contract firm to help us with some HR related issues, as we weren't able to utilize the services of the County of Renfrew at the time. However, it's my understanding that we are back to discussions with the County of Renfrew to assist us in our HR and management of certain matters, and therefore we do not foresee significant increases within this line item for 2022. Before we get into all of the budgets, it's important to note that, and I have shared this with all of the departments, is that the future budget will see increases as a result of the OMERS program changes. So the OMERS program is our pension plan, which we are required to participate in as a municipality in the province of Ontario. Starting in 2023, all part-time employees must be enrolled in the program. So right now it is only full-time or full-time equivalent employees that must be enrolled in it. It is a cost-sharing program. So right now the rate is 9% of gross pay. So the employee puts in 9% of their gross pay, and the municipality shares that 9%. So in 2023, if we have part-time or students, part-time staff, they must be enrolled in that. So we will see some salary increases there, or benefit increases in that line. Okay, we will see throughout the budget, municipal insurance continues to increase. The renewal for 2022 came at 34% increase under the general liability and errors and omissions category. So municipalities continue to see increases, and our professional associations continue to fight back with the provinces as we are seeing these numbers increase steadily and create havoc on our budgets. So we have been very lucky in previous years, as we've seen all of the municipalities around us get hit with increases of 34 to 50%. And now it seems to be our turn. As you know, there are only a handful of insurance companies that sort of rule all of Canada and the United States, and so they control those matters, unfortunately, for us. Okay. So I just want to go down through. I will highlight some items, and then I'll ask council if they have any questions before we go on to capital. Bank charges and interest. So $625.49. So that's not bad. We typically see we have expenses for use of the debit machine, and that had increased over the years as we are asking people, or people are not becoming comfortable with using cash and are using their debit machines. Staff training, we have increased it as we do have some new staff within the municipal office, and as things start to ramp up, conferences and seminars are starting up again. In-person invites are happening, and so we have increased those levels for 2022. Legal costs, we're keeping it the sort of the same as previous years, but we do have a legal reserve if required. We do have small legal budgets within the different departments, and so if we need to share some of those costs, we do that. Building maintenance budget, so we have kept it at the same level as 2021, even though the expenditure was lower than what was budgeted. We do need to start looking at accessibility issues, door handles, lighting. You know, we have received a building condition assessment, and so we need to slowly be able to address some of those concerns as we are fiscally able to. So that will be a priority for our facility. Here we go. Postage and courier costs. We will be around the $15,000 mark this year and leveling off, provided that there are no significant increases. We do have budget line items for office equipment and computer supplies and expenses. So I do not foresee any computers being needed to be replaced this year within the office, but there is a plan for the new term of council. When they come in, we will need to replace all the electronics for the council members. So there's money there. And safety committee. So we are looking at onboarding a new online program through the safety committee. And so we have significantly increased that. We also have recertifications that need to be done. So we've increased that line item. The deputy clerk has advised that she requires budget monies for AOTA compliance. That's Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act. As that comes into effect 2025. So there will be training, and we'll need to start looking at policies and procedures for that as well. So we've added a budget line item there. Again, we are continuing with the community safety and well-being plan with the hopes that this will be the final year, and then we'll be able to move on with the recommendations from that plan. So before we get into the capital expenditures and the capital reserve, do I have any questions from council on the operating expenses?
Amanda, could you just clarify two things before I go to council?
Sure.
The community safety and well-being plan, that's continuing to pay for the actual plan, or is that to implement the plan?
Sue, can you take that?
Yes, that is the, if you recall, we came to council, it was proposed to be a 3-year plan, joint venture between 4 municipalities. I did just this morning receive an email that it would be $8,000, Amanda, should the 4 municipalities still choose to participate. So this is to move your plan forward with the action items and onboarding the stakeholders that should form part of that. And so now that we've received the quote this morning, there'll have to be a meeting before the end of the week, ensuring that all parties still wish to participate.
Okay, so we are continuing with the process.
Yes.
Okay, my other question was, Amanda, you mentioned a refresh on council's technology, and I just wondered, is that captured in this budget somewhere?
Yes, so we will be able to fit that in within our computer supplies and expenses and within our office equipment expenses as well.
Okay, great, because I know some members of council, their technology will be 8 years old,
yes,
which makes it about as good as a rock at this point. So, okay. And you know, there's no guarantee. We don't know who the next council will be, but should some people be reelected, they might want a new device. All right. Questions from council. Councillor Faplinski.
Thank you, Mayor Love. My question to Amanda is, you highlighted the over expenditure because of the human resources contract services. And we budgeted $15,000, spent $33,380. And in that amount, is any expense from the integrity commissioner's support and also perhaps legal advice? Is that included in as well?
No, so legal goes to legal. So if we receive an invoice from a legal firm, it goes to that legal expense. Integrity commissioner, I'm not sure if how those any sort of expenses come in through there without having the details in front of me. But this additional 15,000 is directly from that HR contract firm. I don't recall seeing any invoices from the integrity commissioner. If the CAO clerk is able to respond, I'm not sure how that filters through to our expenses.
Because the sensitive nature of this situation, I think that I understand we can't get into a you know, really tear this apart, but hopefully we can have And then perhaps the next meeting, we can have a discussion about this particular subject. But I just wondered whether it was included in that amount. Thank you.
So I don't believe there were any investigations by the Integrity Commissioner, but council does have a right to seek advice from the Integrity Commissioner. And so any costs that would be incurred through any member of council seeking advice from the Integrity Commissioner would have to go into the actual amount somewhere. Sue, do you know where they go?
For ease of getting through the next pages while council's going through it, I'll just pull up that expense item and I'll clarify it. But usually the Integrity Commissioner does not, if there's any cost that goes under our legal, it's not usually there, but I will clarify that because it will show us that it should be just the HR portion that Amanda was referring to. But I'll get that clarity before the end of the meeting by pulling up the actual roll number, object code.
Okay. So typically we'd anticipate that any Integrity Commissioner expense would be part of the legal costs.
Yes, legal
Okay.
in nature. I would code
Yes.
it towards the legal line item.
All right. And so the HR costs are literally any HR needs we had that could not be addressed by the County of Renfrew through the transition that they experienced in the Human Resources Department as it became part of the Finance Department.
Yes.
Okay. I hope that clarifies that. Any other questions on the general administration budget? Councillor Wilmer.
Just one on the web, sorry, on the webpage expenses. I'm just wondering what the rationale is for basically cutting that in half. Is there something different this year, or just wondering why we're doing that?
So this $10,000 was actually a carryover from 2020. So we updated our municipal webpage for $9,306.85. But in 2020, unfortunately, the invoice did not come in time for it to hit the financial statements, and therefore it had to be recognized in 2021. So there were no additional webpage related charges or expenses in 2021. We've budgeted $5,000 for this year for the general admin because we have identified some forms that we would like them to be created in like a web page type of form where different types of forms where people can log on to our website and, you know, change their address online and it automatically submits to us, or request tax certificates and fill all that in and it automatically submits to us, rather than them printing off a form, filling it in, and then trying to get it to us, mailing it or bringing it in or scanning it. And so we've put that in to update some web forms, and we've also have monies in economic development for the Recreation and Community Development Department, as that department has identified some work that she would like done for the webpage. So it's been split basically between the two departments.
Okay, I just wanted to ensure that, I mean, in the operational review, it mentioned the web page and the number of people who are not using it. And so I'm just hoping that the 5,000 allows enough money to continue to work on it and to continue to make the web page more user friendly. So it sounds like you have done that, and it will be.
Certainly, we need to recognize that our web page should be our most important medium of communication to our ratepayers. They should be able to log on and get the information that they need, and we need to start investing in that, in the upkeep of it. As we have, you know, invested $10,000 in 2020. Let's start putting some money towards it to make sure it continues to work for us rather than be a hindrance to us as we become more of an electronic, you know, business. So
I agree with that. And so thank you. Yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Councillor Poplinsky.
Yes, thanks, Mary Love. It was actually one of the items that I had circled as well, wondering if we needed 10,000, we spent 9,300, now we're going back to 5 with the added additions that we need to, and I think in one of our committee meetings, it was discussed about the need for more resources in that regard. So I'm just really questioning it. And if that is not enough money, can we take it from someplace else, from a reserve or for somewhere to, we could find that we're not going to be able to do the things that we really want to do. So it's just something that popped out at me as well. Thank you.
Okay, so I think Sue?
Yeah, I
Sorry.
just wanted to add that to that point, there are other areas where it is related to the website, such as the AODA compliance. So that's part of it, the accessibility. So we did budget that 2,000 to go towards that as well. And as some of the other issues that were addressed that possibly we would be thinking we need funding for is addressed through either the implementation of the CGIS that can link to our website as well, and our existing iCompass enhancements to our e-action and complaint forms as well. So even though it is being captured in some of the other budgets that we have, that will benefit the website as well.
Okay, thank you. And we also have an economic development reserve that could be tapped if needed. But again, no recommendations have been approved by council, so that does need to come to council. At this point, we don't have that. All right, anything further on this page? Oh, Sue?
Mayor Love, it's just because there was a question previously before we move on to another department. I did get for Councillor Poplinski, we were looking at clarification to ensure that the reserve that we have would cover the arrears. Only this does not include current, but the arrears are at 942,000 approximately.
Okay,
that doesn't
thank you.
include the current, but just thought I'd let you know.
Thank you.
Okay,
You're welcome.
all right. Amanda, did you want to do the capital?
Yes, please. All right. So within 2022, we continue with our payment plan for our asset management plan, which is, we've worked hard on that. So that is a continued payment for the next 3 years of $10,000, and that comes out of our modernization fund. So I'm going to draw your attention here. MMP3. So we've applied for funding through the Municipal Modernization Program for digitization of records, which would be our building and septic department records, and for upgrades to our council chambers. This is a $75,000 / $25,000 split. So the province gives us 75 and we contribute 25. We were approved for 89,549. So the deputy clerk has sourced some quotes for council chambers, audio, visual, electronics upgrades for the room. We've identified that above that $8,000 grant, we will require an additional $4,000 for some of those upgrades. So that is in there. We also have our service delivery review. We're budgeted 70,000. So we've already spent in 2021 $43,044. This will hit our 2022 financial statements because of it was one of those projects that sort of bordered both years. And because the invoices are coming in and there was some work done in the 2022 year, although those some expenditures were realized in 2021. It's here for your purposes to match up with our GL, but it will be moved into 2022. Energy management plan, we had put in 2,000 last year and nothing was spent. I did reach out to a couple of firms to assist us with prioritizing an energy management plan. I received some response, but not a lot. So, or nothing back, I guess. So we've increased it to $5,000 as the federal government is very, with their grants, are becoming more specific in energy management. So it's important for us to make sure that we are addressing energy needs within our capital projects. We've budgeted $12,000 for CGIS mapping. We've discussed that quite a bit. Development charges study, $26,000, which will be completed in 2022. We did realize some expenditures. Again, this will then be pushed over into our 2022 financial statements. And then we have applied for Trillium funding for our office building. And so, although on the revenue side, we have earmarked a $60,000 grant, we have not heard from the Trillium Foundation yet. If we do not receive that grant, then we will be coming back to council with a report requesting to draw from our general admin building reserves to be able to start this project, as it has been identified as a necessity for our municipal office in our building condition assessments. So we have increased our election reserve by $1,000 to $7,000, and we put money aside every year to build up for the big year every 4 years. Building renovation and replacement reserve, we've increased that by $10,000. We continue to put $5,000 into computer and financial software and planning reserve. Assessment risk reserve, we continue with a $5,000 amount because once reassessment happens, if it happens, when it happens, we don't know what is going to happen. So it's good to have a little bit of planning for the future. And we just continue with a $10,000 legal reserve in the event that something happens. You never know what could happen. So we did not put anything into unallocated and just bumped up into building replacement reserve. And that's the capital and the reserve. If there are any questions from council.
Amanda, could you just explain the assessment risk reserve? Is that a risk that a property within the municipality might be significantly reassessed, and in any given year they would see a tax drop that we weren't anticipating? Is that the idea?
That is. So we typically see the Loblaws companies and the Tim Hortons companies. I forget what that company name is called. What they do is they wait for a certain amount of time, and then they apply for reassessment for all of their properties throughout the province of Ontario and take the whole portfolio to MPAC to apply. Some years it can be good, or some years it can be bad. So there was a reassessment for the Loblaws properties. It wasn't a significant change in taxation this year. But as we are going to be looking to reassessment for all of the province, we don't know what's going to happen. If the government is going to recognize those real estate values that have occurred throughout the past couple of years. If that happens, then you can guarantee that some of those larger businesses will then apply for reassessment as well. So we need to make sure that we're prepared in the event that there are significant changes for our assessment base.
Right, and those changes could happen within a budget year after we've set our budget.
That is correct.
Yeah, so that's why we have a reserve to cover the potential loss of revenue.
Right, because the roll is released in December, mid-month of December of the previous year. So we base our budget on those roll assessment numbers. So once the assessments come in the spring of the new year and start coming throughout the year, we don't know how that will affect our budget.
Okay, thank you. That explains that. Any other questions on the capital? Okay, I'm not seeing any. I guess, where do we move to now? We did fire and protection. Building
So-
inspection?
So we can go to page 16 of 55. Just gonna-
Okay,
1 second here. Did I miss something? Just looking at my pages.
Mayor Love?
yes.
So while we're going to the next page, just wanted to clarify, just to confirm that the previous question about whether or not that object code included integrity commissioner costs, it did not.
Okay,
Okay, so I'm just going to, on my screen, I see that within your package, this did not make it in the police services budget. I apologize severely. I don't know where it went, but it's not on there. So I just want to bring this up for council. The police services budget did decrease this year, quite significantly, actually, almost $20,000. And this is the services from the Ontario Provincial Police. And we do not have much say in that, if any, at all. So they've identified that they will need $892,689 from us in our 2022 budget. So that has been built in there. My apologies.
thank you, Amanda. I didn't even miss it.
All right. It is such a
Number.
large portion of our budget and somehow I didn't include it. So we need to bring attention to that. So,
Okay,
okay. All right. Building inspections. Okay. Building inspections. Okay, building inspection salaries, we are maintaining at the level that we have. One staff member of the building department salary is split between planning and building because they share the workload, and therefore we did not reach the actual did not reach the budgeted figure for 2021. So that's a good thing. And so we're just going to maintain that for 2022. Really not a lot of interesting matters here. Materials and supplies. This is for if they require books or hard hats or any sort of additional things for them to do their work. So we don't really budget for convention and seminar training because, again, COVID, and typically the building department has their training that they require in order to do their job. So it's only the one-offs if necessary. I did add this as a new line item just to separate it. It typically was in the materials and supplies budget, and I sort of weeded that out and made its own line for licenses, memberships, and dues. And so that's the memberships that they need to apply for to keep their legislative registration active. If there are any questions from council on building inspection.
any questions? I'm not seeing any. Let's continue then.
Okay, septic inspection services. Septic inspections are done by the building chief building official. Again, the salaries amounts, it's hard to separate it because if he's going to do a septic inspection, it's still part of the building code, right? So we try to make sure that he tries to identify whatever nominal hours that he has to go out. Not typically when he's in the office reviewing septic applications. It's more of when he has to leave the building and go do those reviews. And that's where we get those salary numbers from. Convention and seminar training costs, again, it's forms part of, it's all under the building code, right? So we charge those back to the building department, really. And then when we report it on the FIR, it's part of that building department anyways. We've always just separated septic inspections because at one time we had contract services. So maybe in the future we will amalgamate these two departments, but that's to be determined. Again, materials and supplies, if they, need some one-offs for their services. Are there any questions from council on septic inspections?
Okay, I don't see any. I guess we can continue.
All right, bylaw enforcement. Bylaw enforcement salaries, 5,000 budget in 2021, actual 9,000. That is as a result of the onboarding of a contract employee in November, I believe, of 2021. Therefore, we've had to increase our budget significantly in 2022 for salaries. And that contract position expires November of this year. And so I've projected that this is the salaries amount that will get us to that time. Okay, this materials and supplies is for additional phone services. So we've purchased a phone, and then we have those phone plans that are not, sometimes they're cheap and not so much cheap. Really not a lot. Equipment rental, that is when we use a truck from the operations department and they write in on their timesheet if they use a vehicle, unit 59 or 62 or whatever it might be, and then we charge that back through the payroll process to those departments. So we may not see this here as we purchase vehicles for those specific departments to share. And we may have to just add in a vehicle maintenance and expense line. Do you have any questions from council for the bylaw enforcement services budget?
Okay, I don't see any questions, Amanda. So I guess we can move on.
Okay. Animal control services budget. Budgeted 200 in 2021, actual is 0. I just continued with the 2022 budget of 200, and I did speak to the fire chief as he oversees the animal control services. That it is important that if he has a part-time staff member go out on an animal control call, that they identify that on their payroll time cards, because I suspect that that is getting captured then in other departments, because I know that we have animal control calls. Pound fees. There was a discussion previously on that, and we know that the pound fees have increased. This comes from Bonnechere Valley Township, where the pound is located, and so we share those costs with them. We do have a livestock damage program, and this is offset by the province. So if there are lost livestock as a result of a wolf kill, a farmer can apply for compensation for that. So we just make sure that we budget for the expense, but we do have a small revenue on the other side to offset those costs. And then our veterinary unit costs has remained the same, $280 for many, many years. And there has not been any, sort of reports on that being increased. So we'll just continue on however they report for us every year. Are there any questions from council on animal control services?
Okay, I don't see any. Amanda, do you think we could take a 5-minute break? And I think we're entering into roads.
Yes.
Is that where we're headed next?
We are.
Okay, so maybe if we were to take a little break so we can, stretch our legs and then come back, and we could bring in the operations manager so that he is available to answer any detailed questions. Could I get someone to move that we take 5? Moved by Councillor Wilmer, seconded by Councillor Bromwich. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so we'll come back at 11:30 and we'll have another hour's worth of work, and we'll start with the roads budget at that point.
I'm going to keep the live stream going, so please mute yourselves and shut your camera off during your break.
Mike, can you hear me? Mike.
Yeah, go ahead, Hillary.
Devil's feet. See why. I can see why. Separated a whole lot of double speed. I can see why.
I'm hoping everyone is coming back very soon so we can get started again. And if we're lucky, we'll get through the roads department today. Good morning, Hillary.
Morning, Hillary.
Good morning. I better put these on.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning, Mike.
Okay. Just need Councillor Schulist.
So Amanda, this will be page 18 of 55. We're starting back on.
That's correct.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, everyone find 18 of 55 so that we're ready to go, and hopefully Councillor Schulist, and he's coming. There he is. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, Councillor Schulist. So everybody's back. I'm going to call the meeting back to order and turn it over to Amanda to present the roads services budget.
There we go. Okay. Roadways. Okay, so let's go. So we're on page 18 of 55 of your agenda package. So a slight increase in roadway salaries from 2021 budget to 2021 actual. So we have increased the 2022 budget to reflect some of that based on the actuals. Crossing guard expense. We budgeted 75 in 2021. The actual is 14. Again, that's a shared cost, 50% split with the Brantford County Catholic School Board. There has been some discussion, some comments back and forth that they're not sure of how long they're going to maintain that program. And therefore we have said, well, if you're not going to contribute, should we contribute? So I have increased it for this year to 15,000 because I just for safety's purposes, I don't want the end of the year to come and then, something happen or we get stuck with a full bill. And if that is the event, then of course it has to come back to council to discuss that matter further. So we will just continue in hopes that things stay the same. Okay. So I'm going to jump into the roadway maintenance GL line expense and our sub-ledger categories. Union expenses, we are going to keep it the same at $1,000. We do know we are in a renewal year for our union contract and there will be discussions. Same with legal, so we may have to draw down on this legal line, and we may have to borrow from the general admin legal line, but so far our union negotiations in the past have gone quite well, and hopefully we'll be able to continue a good relationship with our union members. Insurance, we have increased it as it has affected all the departments. Municipal beautification, we are hoping to restart the pitch-in program or, advertise it a little more as we have in previous years. So we just continue with this 1,500 for garbage pickup and bags and whatever the need is for the community. Coverall and uniform expense, budgeted 5 in 2021, actual was 71.23. Not sure where that issue is I believe that some of the invoices were held off and were not received until the beginning of the year, and therefore will be realized in the 2022 year. And so we kept that at the same. So I'm just going to highlight a couple of things. A lot of these are just regular items. Tool purchase and expenses. I just want to comment that we really do try to stay within the budgeted amounts. I do, the operations supervisor does regularly ask where are we at with this expenditure line to make sure that they're not going over. I do get calls from the mechanic. Hey, I just broke something and I need this. What's my limit, or where am I at on this? So just to let council know that we do try to remain within our budget limits so that we don't go over. 3,500 engineering services. There's always those extra needs that that we realize throughout the year. Surveying costs. So this expenditure is here for right now. We've earmarked it for Ohio Road, Shoreline Road Allowance Exchange, and registration. We budgeted 16 in the previous year, spent 3,500 due to unforeseen circumstances beyond staff's control. We were not able to get some of those, the registrations completed in that year. We are very hopeful in talking with the surveyor that some of these matters will get cleared up in the 2022 budget year so that we can proceed with any future work that needs to get done on Ohio Road. Petro-Canada leases, that is the lease for the parking lots that we have. That's an agreement that we have. Sorry. Brushing and tree cutting. So that's our program that we have. The operations supervisor has a program plan where he identifies the roads that need to be addressed for brushing and tree cutting. It's like an annual maintenance program. And so we just continue with that. Patching and hardtop is a difficult one because right now we've all experienced or heard in the news that oil is the cost of oil is fluctuating, or the cost of oil, a barrel of oil, it keeps going up. They're saying, you know, it could go up to $200 a barrel, and now it's down to under $100 a barrel. We don't know how it's going to affect the end result for purchasing cold patch. So we just increased it from the previous year's budget to better reflect the actuals of 2021. The private road grant is a very successful program that we're proud of. It allows us to help our ratepayers that have properties on private roads that are not maintained by the municipality to upgrade or upkeep their roads, and then we help them with some of those expenses. So it's a really great program and it's well received. Skeets Road development. So this was a line item that was added last year. We all know the Skeets Road development. It has been a time, but we have seen that the road has been paved. So there is this money that was realized in 2021. These are the expenses in that line item, and the funds will be transferred from the investment to offset this cost. There will not be any taxpayer dollars towards this line item amount. It will come from the investment from the developer, not taxpayer dollars. I just want to make that very clear. It is on here only for the purpose because it is on our general ledger, and therefore I have to reflect what's in the general ledger on our budget document. Culvert purchases, again, materials are so difficult to forecast, so we just increased that amount a little bit because as things start warming up, we're going to have to start replacing some culverts. And so does council have any questions on this page 18 of 55 of the roadway services budget?
Okay, I'm looking for hands. Councillor Poplinski.
Thanks, Mary Love. Actually, regarding the Skeets Road, Amanda, I'm wondering why doesn't it show as receivable somewhere on the sheet because there should be an offset of all those dollars spent, right? And why isn't it? And maybe it is showing somewhere, but I couldn't find it. So
because we'll have to bring those monies into our account because it's not in our account right now. So we'll need to offset that. And part of that is it's sort of straddling the 2 years because we didn't technically finish. There were still invoices in the 2022 year as the project completed, and we received last minute engineering and project invoices. So the money will be offset. This will go into our 2022 financial statement, and then it will be the investment will be brought into the township's revenues.
Amanda, is that something done by the auditors?
Yes.
In that final process, so it will get done. It's just what we're looking at is numbers that have not been through an audit, and so that will happen, and you will see that in the final documents. Councillor Poplinski.
yes, thanks, Mayor Love. That was exactly my question, that there should be an auditor's note. So that's good. Thank you.
Okay.
Mayor Love.
Sorry. Where I've lost you, Sue, so you go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to add, it had previously been mentioned to council that once all invoices were received, a report would be forthcoming to council from the municipal engineer from WSP. Staff have been working with Andrew Mansfield, and I believe that the final reconciliation should be prepared. We're hoping for the April meeting. So what it will do is give you the breakdown showing that there's no tax dollars that were applied for the completion of that project, and where we stand. And after that, it will be followed up by the auditor's note. So that report will be going to the auditor as well.
Okay. All right. So it will be made very clear. Any other questions on this page? Not seeing any. Amanda, how about we move further down on our page?
Okay, so we're now on page 19 and 55 of your agenda package, which brings us to yard 1 and yard 2 expenses. So no big fluctuations here. You know, we have water and wastewater expenses, shop maintenance expenses, heat, hydro, telephone and internet service at yard 1. Again, yard 2 expenses, the shop maintenance expenses, heat, hydro and telephone expenses. So we've actually budgeting lower in 2022 for yard 1 based on 2021's budget. And again, for yard 2, our budget is coming in lower than our 2021 budgeted numbers. Working down the sheet, we will move into vehicle expenses. So we take all of our vehicles and then just provide fuel numbers and maintenance numbers. The item number 40 was surplused in December 7th of 2021 at a meeting. That vehicle is no longer in service and therefore did not receive any budgeted numbers. Does council have any questions on this page?
Okay, I don't see any, Amanda, so I guess we could continue to the next page of the vehicle expenses.
Okay, so we'll move down page 20 of 55. Okay, so the top of that page is vehicle number 42. So of note, number 49, the Toyota Corolla that sits here at the municipal office and is shared amongst the fire chief, bylaw and building department, will be surplused in this year of 2022. Whether it be sold or whether it go towards scrap metal is to be determined by those department managers. I'm just trying to look at my notes here. 1, 2, 3. No significant notes from the department. Do I have any questions from council on this page 20 of 55 for those units?
Okay, I don't see any questions, so let's carry on to the next one.
Okay, so we're on 21 of 55. The top of that page is unit 61. Looking at my page. Oh, I just wanted to let you know, so because we don't know about fuel costs, so what we did was we took the actuals of 2021 and just increased them by 20% for our fuel costs. Hopefully we will not see these levels of costs stay this way for much longer throughout the summer, but you never know. It is quite a lucrative business. Let's see, do I have, and we're going down to the Polaris Ranger. Okay, the 77 Polaris Ranger, we did purchase a plow blade in 2022. Therefore, we've increased the maintenance budget on that to make up for that extra expense. And that was used to maintain the outdoor rinks. So excellent idea.
Okay.
Great communication. Any questions from council on this page?
Okay, I don't see anyone's hand up on that page. I guess we'll move to the last page of those.
All right, so page 22 of 55, bringing us to unit 78 at the top of the page. Just looking through my notes here. Again, we just try to maintain, take our fuel actuals, increase them by 20% to ensure that we have an appropriate amount for the 2022 budget year. Number 90 is a new vehicle. So again, there was nothing budgeted for that year, and there was some maintenance on it. I suspect it was probably like decals and whatever is needed to outfit that unit. So we've just put in what we typically expect as a scenario for fuel and maintenance for that unit, and we will see what the actuals are for 2022. Okay. And then we are getting into further down the page, it gets us into our capital expenditures. So before we hit those sheets, I would ask if council has any questions on these vehicles, number 78 to 90.
Okay, any questions on those? I'm not seeing any. So,
all right. So I'm going to switch sheets here.
Okay.
And I'm going to go straight into, it is your page. Sorry, my sheet's upside down here. Your page 23 of 55, which is transportation equipment capital budget. Just going to increase my screen here. All right. Okay, so for 2022, we recognize the Sand Dome project. We need to get started on that. There was no expenditure in 2021. So we've budgeted $75,000 for that, recognizing that in 2023, we will need to budget for that, for the balance of that. We recognize that we need to replace our grader, number 23. And we also recognize that we need to replace unit 46. Those are quite significant costs. So we are going to start the tender process, get some ideas of what that looks like. Again, we know there are chip shortages coming out of Taiwan and Texas, which is making it very difficult for us to source vehicles. So we've just budgeted small amounts to begin the process, and then we will start in hopefully hopefully the manufacturing process will start up and we'll be able to get started in 2023 and roll that into 2024, because sometimes it takes a while to build those machines. We've also budgeted $40,000 to replace Unit 62, the pickup truck. And then we have budgeted $150,000 to replace the sidewalk plow, which is in desperate need of replacement. We've also budgeted $35,000 for an SUV to be shared with the building, the fire, and the bylaw department, new or used, depending on what is available to us. And then because of such large projects we're looking at, and we still have some difficulties with COVID-19 coming out of all of the mandates, we will begin to look at Yard 2 LED lighting to obtain quotations for 2023, or if financial considerations allow us within this budget, we will bring that to the attention of council and may be able to proceed with upgrading the lighting at Yard 2. Is there any questions from council on the transportation equipment capital budget?
Okay, I don't see any hands up, Amanda, so let's continue to the next one.
Okay, so let's go to roads construction capital. My little notes there, I'm just going to zoom in here. Okay. Okay, sidewalk rehabilitation. So 2021 we did not budget, but we did have some actuals at the Highway 62 and Bay Street. So there were some repairs done there. We've budgeted $20,000 for the current year. We do know that the County of Renfrew is doing some rehabilitation on Siberia Road, and that will be our focus this year for sidewalk rehabilitation. And we will be working in conjunction with them to make sure that this all goes smoothly, and that when they do their curb and gutter, then our sidewalks get done well and done at the same time. Gravel resurfacing, so we continue with that, and that is just a program that we have. We address any gravel roads that we have, just add additional gravel to it to maintain the road. So we budgeted 140 last year, spent 123, so we've put in 130 for this year. The various roads that have been identified are McPhee's Bay Road, 2 kilometers, Finch Road, 2 kilometers, and Babinski Road, 1.5 kilometers. We've also identified the Connecting Links program. We've applied for a grant through that program with the province, and that is boulevard construction. So we're hopeful that we will be successful in that application, but we still, again, have to wait and see. Dam Lake Road and Stan Olszewski Road. It is currently a gravel road. We have identified that it would be better serviced with a hot mix application for 125. This would be a 0.7 kilometer construction project. And this will help us with offsetting the costs of dust suppression and grading. As we know, our graders are in need of repair and replacement. Island Lane, we've identified 0.35 kilometers to pulverize granular A and 50 millimeters with hot mix. And that is the lane down towards Lakeshore, just to the left of the municipal building. Wilowski Drive, we have identified a $300,000 project for hot mix and culverts. We've also earmarked $150,000 for paving at a double surface treatment for miscellaneous issues for Shannon House Road, 1.5 kilometers, Parcher Road, 750 meters, and Chippewa Road of 500 meters. Currently, they are gravel roads. It is felt that they would be better serviced as double surface treatment, again, to reduce dust suppression and dust suppression efforts and greater applications on them. Mintha Street and Airport Road culverts. So as Mintha Street becomes, there's development on Mintha Street as a result of existing lots of record on that road. There are possibilities of some drainage issues, so it's important for us to ensure that we have culverts to address any potential water drainage issues that may occur as a result of increased development on that road. Same with Airport Road, that culvert is almost in failure and needs to be addressed in this current year. So we have also identified that Hopefield Road, it is prepared, it's ready to go. We have the engineering done for it, but we do not have the funds. This will be a $3 million project, and we know that we are typically more successful in our ISIP program applications when we have larger projects that are ready, shovel ready to go. So although Hopefield Road does need some service, we think it would be better for the municipality to put it off, and hopefully the ISIP program will be released this year, which it typically is every 2 years, every 2 to 3 years. We will be able to apply for it and hopefully we'll be successful for this $3 million project. I would just like to note that these roads that have been identified in this reconstruction program for 2022, not all of them are within our roads need study. So we do studies. Council has been very welcome to letting staff get studies done, third-party studies, to identify the needs of building condition assessments, road condition assessments, service delivery review, so that we can see with outside eyes of what needs to be addressed. So a roads need study was done for a 5-year term. It identifies what roads, based on engineering variables, to determine the condition assessment of those roads, when they should be addressed or when construction should take place. So certainly, you know, there might be roads that need to be or are earmarked in a current year to be addressed. But then we might have situations like the miscellaneous issues that have come up, you know, that are unforeseeable and therefore takes away from another project that needs to get pushed down on the road. So although the roads need study is done by a third-party organization, staff definitely interjects or interprets the study on their basis, and then looks at the roads with their own eyes to determine what the needs of the municipality are in that current fiscal budgeting year. So this is what is being proposed for capital construction, $1.19 million for 2022. Do I have any questions from council?
Okay, thank you, Amanda. Councillor Poplinski.
Thanks, Mayor Love, and thank you, Amanda. You touched on the priorities, and of course the asset management. Road study needs preservation management is a big component of that. And we talked about the road study that was done in 2019, of course, and it deals primarily with the pavement and the need for it to be replaced in so many years and so on. And I think one of the issues that came out, and was certainly one of the priorities with the service review that was just recently conducted, was the recognition that the preservative management, which is dealing with the safety issues and so on, besides checking on the condition of the pavement, something that should figure prominently in the township asset management strategies. And they went on to say that the analysis concluded that many of the critical preservative management programs are either unfunded or underfunded. And the recommendation that the operations manager should make recommendations to council as soon as possible on how the township should phase in a robust preservative management program. And I would like to hear, since we're cutting our construction this year from 1 million down 1,500,000 down to 190,000. And if we are to follow the advice from this particular service review in the interest of safety and so on, I would like to hear from the operations manager what his plan is and when can we expect to see a report in that regard. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Kuchkowski, can you respond?
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to just clarify something here. Amanda, you did well on trying to explain this. For Stanowski Road and Dam Lake, it is not gravel. There's a surface treatment on there now and it has failed. So we do take into account, we don't follow the roads need study religiously. We do take into account, and it's a moving target. So this year we realized that this has failed, so we had to take proactive steps, hence the hot mix component. We learned from previous that surface treatment really does not work there. We only got a number of years out of it. So in preservation, I believe we are taking proactive steps, much like Shannon House Road is beside a lake, and we recognize that it's a gravel road. I'm not really, I haven't confirmed to myself that the dust suppressant is the answer. So hence, we've taken a proactive step by installing pavement on this. On Chippewa Road, there's a missing link that we have to send the grader long distances for a little section of road. I don't think that's good bang for your buck. So I guess what I'm saying, we are taking steps, small steps in reaching our preservation management. So I don't know if that answered your question, but we are trying the best we can on how to mitigate this, Mr. Podlinski. I don't know if that answered your question.
Mayor Love.
Okay, Sue, go ahead.
Yes, if I can just, I'll read the recommendation that was from Wayfinder just for the benefit of the operations supervisor and manager, because I think they are addressing it, but to Councillor Poplinski's question, it does ask for a report to come forward. So the actual recommendation was develop a 10-year rolling road preservative management program per the roads need study. Include rolling schedules for crack sealing, slurry sealing, road cut, pothole repairs, surface blading, shoulder leveling, ditch cleanout, brushing, daylighting, and dust control. The program must be fluid and subject to adjustments and funded through the annual operating budget. I believe that's so to Councillor Poplinski's inquiry, just asking if and when such a program could come forward. So I'm assuming from the question, what he's looking for is a program, not so much how we've budgeted for it. Is that correct, Councillor Poplinski?
Yeah, I want to make sure that, if I may, I want to make sure that we do have the funds to do this. But first of all, we have to have a plan in place. It's fine to want something, but unless we come up with a plan, a real good plan how we're going to do this, then really your want doesn't do anything. It's actually the action plan is what I would like to see, and each individual road. And I know we have a lot of roads, but we have some that are more unsafe than others. So, and I don't think it would be difficult to certainly zero in on those ones where it's been identified where there were some major safety issues. And to neglect this would be after spending 70 some thousand on this plan and with really good concrete recommendations that came out of it, we need more than just a, and I understand it's not easy but this is something that's been overlooked. And in the interest of asset management, we've gone and we've had a good asset management plan related to buildings. We know exactly what they need. It's going to cost to keep them in operation. I don't see that same information. And if we rely only on the roads need study, which was done in 2019, and it was well established at the time, and that's why I brought this up on many occasions, that there seemed to be something very missing here, and especially when it related to safety issues and so on. So I would like to see something. I don't expect to see it today, but I expect to see a plan in place whereby we can expect something to deal with these issues. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
So I think we have just received the operational review not that long ago, and council has not had an opportunity to prioritize any of the many recommendations in that review. We do need to prioritize those recommendations, and it would be a council decision about whether this particular plan would need to be prioritized immediately in this year or not. And there may be some requirement for some assistance with the plan, or it may be something that staff feel they can do in-house. We haven't had a report back from our staff on those recommendations yet, with them suggesting which ones that can be achieved. If we look at this particular recommendation, I would note to council that it does cover things like brushing and ditching and things that we are already doing to ensure that we are looking after our assets. I think the plan would just flesh this out a little further. So some of this work is being done, identifying that it is being done in a plan and what else could be done within an operational budget would be the expectation if council prioritizes that. So at this point, we do need to come back to the operational review, look at the recommendations, and as a council prioritize where we want our staff to focus. And I think that's something we should probably be putting on one of our agendas fairly soon, once staff have had a chance to review all those recommendations. That was one of the things that we are waiting on for then staff's recommendation to council on what do we attack first? What is the low-hanging fruit? And I think this may very well be a piece of low-hanging fruit. It's just we haven't got that far yet. So it's not that this has been ignored. We literally just received this information early in this year. And here we are, we're in March. So I mean, we just haven't got to it. Councillor Bromwich, I notice you have your hand up.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Yeah, I just like to sort of state here that we aren't ignoring safety of the roads. It's a daily operation here, and I know for a fact that anytime there's any safety issue on a road, staff immediately attacks that issue and fixes it. I've had phone calls here in the morning from a resident saying, I've got a major pothole in front of my house. I just about lost my truck in it. By the time I get hold of Hillary or Mike that afternoon, it's taken care of. And staff is only too aware of what roads need help immediately to be safe. They drive the roads every day. I'm not saying we're not doing what Councilor Poplinski is suggesting. I'm just saying it's a daily operation here to keep the safety of the roads as a priority in our township. And staff has been doing a very good job of it. Now, to have a roads needs study designed on safety over a 10-year period, how much is that going to cost us? I would like to know how much it's going to cost to have a complete agenda for a 10-year program identifying 270 kilometers of roads. I just think at this point in time, we're trying to save money here, not spend it. So like you were saying, this has just come out to us. We have to sit on this and go through the service delivery suggestions they've given us, but by no means should we be jumping into hiring a consultant to go out and check every inch of road and have a 10-year plan when we're already doing the work. Thank you.
If I may, Mayor Love.
Yes, Sue, please go ahead.
I just don't want to digress from the discussion of the budget. It was a recommendation. It is coming back to council. It is not required to get a consultant. I think all it is putting pen to paper with the projection of what there is a strategy that Public Works uses as it is now. They already know which ones they're planning on working on. Is to put pen to paper to bring that forward for clarification for council. We have received from Wayfinder some examples of some master plans they referred to, some 360 reviews they've referred to. So those will be coming back to council in April so that staff can then say, yes, this is something we can implement or not. All staff department have had a chance to comment on the service delivery review. I just have to compile it and put it all into a recommendation for council.
Okay, and then that's what we're waiting on. It
Yeah,
isn't that
it's a fair
that
statement, and it is something outstanding.
Yes, and it is not a case of having ignored it. We did just receive this report. So we are allowing our staff time to review the recommendations. And as I said, identify the ones that are going to provide us with the best return. So we do want to see that come back to council. So council can determine, as I said, which of the hopefully low-hanging fruit we can have our staff be working on. So I would anticipate that ASAP you will get that back to us, and we'll be reviewing all those recommendations in order to prioritize them. Once they're prioritized, then I would anticipate that staff will be working on those projects. And as you say, if it is something that can be done in-house, absolutely it will be done in-house. And if it is something that's going to require outside input or consultants, then that will have to be budgeted for in a future year. Because at this point, we're trying to complete our budget and we haven't made those decisions. Councillor Poplinski.
Thanks, Mayor Love. I want to thank the CAO for the comments because she's absolutely right. We have the personnel that can drive down the road and determine whether it's unsafe or not. We don't need to spend, as Councillor Bromwich suggested, millions of dollars or thousands of dollars on another study. It's just a matter of, I'd like to know when this is going to happen, and we do have the people to do it. And in the fact that we are this year not doing as much construction, perhaps it might be a good year to implement some of those factors into the plan. So, and it's I'm very convinced that we have the people to do it, and it's just a matter of time. And that's what I would like, some assurance that that is what's going to happen. So I'd appreciate hearing the commitment from council at this point that that's the way in which they want to proceed.
Well, I think that council will be committing to those projects once we see all of them and are able to choose what we think are important priorities. And I obviously recognize you will be voting for that. I'm not saying anyone else will or won't be voting for it, but this is a process and we do as a council need to make these decisions. It isn't solely the input of one or two of us. So this will come back to us and we will address it, and everybody will have an opportunity to vote on those decisions. So it's coming. It hasn't been ignored. It will get done. Councillor Wilmer.
I don't want to drag this on, but no, we have an excellent report, the operational review report, but there are many, many recommendations in it. So I totally agree. I mean, we have to, as a council, it's up to us to decide now which ones we want to move forward with first. This may be one of them, but we have to, as a council as a whole, look at all the recommendations and prioritize them. And then we'll get moving on them. And you're right, we have the staff and the resources internally to handle it, but we need, it's up to us as a council now to prioritize them and come forward with some recommendations to staff.
Okay, so we know that's coming. In the interim, here we sit. Are there any other questions on the construction capital budget? Councillor Wilmer.
Yeah, just one quick one. The crosswalk thermoplastic, we have nothing in that, but my understanding was that the ones at least on Highway 60 were included in that connection link grant. Is that correct?
Yes,
It is.
may I?
Go ahead, Hillary.
Yes, they're into the grant process. We want permanent ones at the three-way stop. Some other ones can't take it.
Yeah,
So
that's,
it's in there. Good catch.
yeah, no, I was just asking because I remember we had the discussion and I just want to make sure that it was in there still. Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks.
Okay, so that's been recognized as an issue. Anything further on the construction capital budget? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. So Amanda, did you want to take us through the reserves budget?
Okay. So for 2022, we tried to continue to maintain the reserves that have already been set up. We've increased the roads equipment reserve by 5,000. We've increased the sand dome reserve by 40,000. And then in 2023, we'll be putting in an additional 150 so that we're better positioned for what that cost might be. Roads construction reserve maintained at 160. Sidewalk reserve, we've maintained it at 5,000, and then the weather events reserve, we just reduced that by $10,000 as we do have a healthy weather events and winter maintenance reserve. So we're able to take a little bit from there to bump up some other reserves. Are there any questions from council on those reserves?
Just a quick question before I go to council on that weather events reserve. Is that where we would draw if we had a lot of spring flooding and we were having road cuts and culvert issues?
That is correct.
Okay, so it's not like just significant heavy duty snowfall. It would also cover spring flooding issues. Okay.
That's right.
Any questions from council? Oh, Hillary, did you want to speak to that?
Well, a little bit. Just getting back to the pavement portion. I believe Amanda touched on it with cold mixer. I don't know what's going to happen this year on the pricing whatsoever. I can't crystal ball this. Mike can't. We have no idea what price per ton. We can only hope after the tender process we might have to cut back or scale back or whatever, just to let council know. I don't think it'll be good with the price of oil. The barrel has gone up. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Hillary. I'm just wondering if we had to, could we tap into the roads construction reserve if our projects come in way over budget, but you want to continue with them? Is that something we could look at later?
I think we'll need to address the situation once the tenders come back in and see where we're at for those projects.
Right. So we do have some money in reserves for construction, but again, I suspicion this is why staff has focused our spending, our capital spending in more in other areas than on roads work, because we know that the price of oil is ridiculously high right now and we don't know what's going to happen. So, we do what we have to do, but we don't want to be doing roads at the highest price. We would hope that the price will come down next year and it will be better.
That's right.
Any other questions on capital reserve for transportation? Anyone? Okay, I don't see anything on that. What else do we have under transportation we could handle? Can we do streetlights?
We could do streetlights.
Great. I'm just trying to use up our time here because we have till 12:30 today.
All right, so streetlights, we have our energy charges expense, and that's just our hydro bills for all of the streetlights with the municipality. Servicing costs, so as arms or bulbs have to be replaced, we have those expenses in there. We do not have any capital expenditures for streetlights. There were none identified. No new streetlights were identified to be erected in this current budget year. Are there any questions from council?
Okay, any questions on streetlights? Nope, seems to be straightforward. Anything else we can complete? How about municipal properties?
Yes, we can. Municipal properties. So this is typically our cemetery expense. That is the Combermere Methodist Cemetery down along the Lakeshore on the main Combermere Road. So again, we've budgeted 5, 2021, we spent 8. So we're just going to continue with that 5 for 2022. Any questions from council?
Okay, any questions? I don't see any. Let's see. Can you do waste management in 9 minutes?
Okay, let's see what we can get. Okay, waste disposal salaries. We're hitting pretty good on our salaries line, so we just increased that by the 3.4%. Equipment rental from other departments, so that's again when roads transportation department uses a piece of equipment that's meant for waste disposal, we charge that back to this department through the payroll process. Excuse me. Household hazardous waste day expense. It did increase by the actuals over the budget for 2021, but as we saw in our revenues, we did have an offsetting revenues from the other municipality that shares that expense. So we just maintain that level of the actuals for this year because I do believe we will be doing a joint event again. Studies and monitoring. Again, that's we have to continue with our studies and monitoring of our waste disposal sites. Site compliance. Again, we need to ensure that we have the proper information and studies for our waste disposal. It's very important that we comply with Ministry of Environment and Climate Change requirements. Ottawa Valley waste tipping fees, again, did not go over budget in 2021, therefore we would just maintain that. Garbage tags, so this is the expenditure for garbage tags. We have seen in previous years increased, and we've had to increase our buy of tags, so I believe we should be okay in 2022 when we then have to eventually go out and purchase new tags. This should meet that requirement. C&D grinding did not, our actuals did not get to our budget levels, and so we just increased it for our 2022. Composter expense, there were no actuals in 2021, but we did maintain a $7,000 line item for 2022 in case we have some organics, Molochs or bins that need to be replaced. Materials and supplies is just miscellaneous items that they may require, equipment that they may require at the waste sites. Okay, Pog Lake site closure. We budgeted 6, spent 7,123. The fuel tank enclosure at Bark Lake, we budgeted 4, spent 1, so that was good. So that has been managed in 2021 and no further expenditures are required. Are there any questions in the operating portion from council members?
Any questions for operating on waste management? Okay, I'm not seeing any questions. How about let's do capital?
All right, let's go. I'll just blow this up. Oh, no. Can you see that?
Wrong way.
Okay. So we have budgeted $45,000 for a used replacement truck. This is not new. We did come to council with a recommendation in 2021. Unfortunately, we were not able to source one. It is a need at the site, and so we will continue and carry this into 2022. Hopefully we'll be able to find something as everything starts to open up. In the reserve, we just continued the waste management equipment replacement reserve, 41,172 and 20,674 for the landfill rehabilitation reserve. So as you can see in future years, we have some significant numbers here, and these are additional because once we get to the Paul J. Akabuski Community Center, these are the two reserves that we will be drawing down on to help us offset those costs. And then we will have a commitment to repay those funds back to the reserves over a 10-year plan. So just identifying that we project that these monies will go back into these reserves in those future years. Are there any questions from council on the waste disposal capital and reserve budgets?
Okay, anything on the capital and reserves? Okay, I'm not seeing anything. So Amanda, should the municipality be able to acquire some funds through possibly the sale of a piece of property, we would be able to deduct that from that payback process, right?
That would be wonderful. Yes.
Council was looking into that. But that is basically the plan, is to borrow the money from ourselves, from our own reserves, and then pay it back over time to ourselves.
That is correct. So we do set up reserves with an intention. If the reserves aren't being used, absolutely council can decide to draw those reserves to help out another department. And then, you know, it's always good practice to then pay it back because they're there for a specific need. There's no legislative requirement for us to only spend it within that department.
Okay, great. Any final questions on the roads or the waste management budget? I think tomorrow we'll get to curbside and transfer stations, but any final questions from council for Hillary at this point? Okay. Well, I almost don't want to do, I don't know. Amanda, could we do library? And then
I think we could.
3 minutes, can we do her?
Sure, I think so. The library already presented their budget to council, so you are aware of what their ask is. The miscellaneous expense is just incidentals that may occur throughout the year. Again, you know, with the library equipment rental, it's a rental from other departments. So if, you know, a roads department employee is driving, you know, unit 62 and has to go over there, we charge that time back through the payroll department to the library. They haven't. Sorry. Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
They have increased their requests from 2021. So the library is requesting $166,307. Before we get to the capital and reserve page, are there any questions from council on this operating portion?
Okay, I don't see any hands up. So let's do the capital.
Okay. Zoom. Okay. So we've talked a lot about building condition assessments. We do need to start injecting money into our facilities. We have identified that there are some, possibly some health and safety or some accessibility needs for our facilities. So what we've done in order to start our plan to address these, we've looked at what was rated as poor or very poor, and then come up with a number. So we've budgeted $40,000 to help us address some of these issues: lighting, baseboards, tile, carpet, block wall. The library has requested funds for replacement computers as well. So we've built that in there. That doesn't mean that this $40,000 will be spent, but it is the direction of the facilities department to look at what the needs are, work with the library on what is most important and how we can address some of those issues with this bucket of money, so that then we can have a game plan for future budget years. Maybe this money won't get spent, and then we can put it back into reserves, but it is there for them to get going on some of these needs of the facilities. We also have started putting money into a library reserve, so we've added $25,000 into the library reserve this year. And I've earmarked 5,000 for future years, but I think we'll need to bump that up a little bit more for future years. Are there any questions from council on the capital and the reserve budget?
Councillor Poplinski. Sorry, you're muted. Just.
I think we're okay now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, there wasn't a little area where I could hit on, so now I got it. My question was, can we, any money that we don't spend this year of the 40,000, can we also put it into the reserve for the library?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. And Amanda, I'm presuming that the first thing that we're going to make sure gets done before we spend any money on the library is the designated substance survey, so that we know what we're actually looking at.
Yes.
Is that the number one priority? Because we do need to know the results of that particular survey.
That would be up to the operations and facilities manager, but I do believe that has been an item that they have discussed. So
okay, so
they will have to come up with their work plan. Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. It's important that we understand if we have any substances that have to be addressed before we're investing in things that are less urgently needed to be addressed. That's all.
Yes.
I think council would want to know that we were confident that there were no designated substances in the building if before we continued with the expenditure. But I guess, Hillary, you would be the only one who would, at this point, that would sort of come under your purview. So, and I know you recognize the need for the designated substance survey on this building.
Correct. I'm certain we've did some here. I don't know if it was included previous. We did at the train station. Does that trigger anybody's memory?
Not at this building.
Okay.
I think we did the train station, but not here.
Okay.
And
yes.
So that was a recommendation coming out of the building condition assessments.
Yeah. I believe it's not that much to do designated substance investigation. Okay. Good catch.
Okay, if we can get that done ASAP, that would be helpful. I think there's already a recommendation from council on that. Council, anyone not recall that? I think we did do that. Okay. I think our CAO is frozen out, so she can't answer that, but
I'm okay right now.
Oh, you're back.
I'm unfroze, thank you.
Okay, is there anything further on the library capital? Because we're going to call it a day if there is nothing further. All right, so tomorrow morning at 9:30, we will start, where are we at? With planning and development. What I need is a motion to recess, and we'll reconvene tomorrow morning at 9:30. So moved by Councillor Poplinski, seconded by Councillor Wilmer. All those in favor? And that's carried. Okay, we will recess until tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Thank you, everyone.